Immigration Minister Tony Burke is in hot water this morning after quietly granting himself new powers to impose electronic monitoring and curfews on dangerous non-citizens released from detention. Under the new rules, Mr Burke will have the ability to release non-citizens from immigration detention without the approval of the High Court and impose strict conditions if they are deemed to be a community safety concern. For her take, let's bring in 7 News Investigations Editor Alison Sandy. Morning to you, Alison. I mean, this was a total debacle over the last year, wasn't it? Some argued these new regulations breach the human rights of detainees. I mean, that was the argument all along when it came to the people that were released. We're talking about rapists, armed robbers. It was so controversial. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, Eddie, it's really concerning because one of the main issues with this area is the fact that under freedom of information laws, you can't access information. So I'm really worried about the transparency and how much information will be coming out. Also, to give yourself the right to make these, to be a lawmaker, to make the rules and to act without any sort of, it doesn't seem to have any sort of overarching watchdog or anything anymore. Like there's no areas in place to protect human rights, but also to ensure that the right people have the right measures taken against them.
I think we all remember these cases and what happened particularly with that case in Perth with that lady who was attacked. I mean, this was a deal with the coalition to monitor free detainees, deport foreigners with no right to remain. So it's good to see that there's some clarification on this issue. How do you think it's going to be received by the Australian public? Because there isn't much sympathy, I think, for some of these people, particularly if they have a criminal background. But yet, by the same argument, if people have served their time, these kind of conditions would never be imposed on someone who has been in jail, served their time and then released.
It's a case-by-case basis, isn't it? And that's why the information needs to be out there. I mean, even if the identities are protected, as long as we know the cases and we know what's going on, I think that the scrutiny needs to be available to the Australian public so that they can decide whether or not that they're making the right choices. So hopefully that will be done, and that's always the way. And unfortunately, they haven't got a good track record. The Department of Home Affairs is one of the worst to try to get information out of under freedom of information laws.
Yes, Tony Burke certainly had his work cut out for him when he took over that portfolio, didn't he? Moving on, Aussies are splashing their cash. We're tipped to spend $1.3 billion on the current Boxing Day sales, despite what was being called the toughest Christmas in years. Let's bring in Sussan, who's with us, the Deputy Opposition Leader as well. We're supposed to be in a cost of living crisis, Sussan. What's going on out there at the shops?
Well, yeah, look, it is a cost of living crisis, but Aussies love to grab a bargain, and that's exactly what they're doing this Christmas. But look, if you've bought something from one of the big brands and you've made a saving, my ask for Australians is spend something at your local small business, because they really have been doing it tough, and they'll be looking forward to you coming in their door, and they've got a few bargains too.
Yeah, we're seeing record numbers of small businesses collapse, aren't we, in this cost of living crisis? So that's a great call to support local business. What do you make of this, Alison? Do you think people have kind of forgotten they're in a cost of living crisis, or maybe we're just saving up for the sales now and we only want to buy things on sale and get a bargain?
That's the case for me. I can honestly say that, you kind of think you've got to sort of only have so much money. And if I'm looking at Christmas shopping, I'll often start earlier in the year and get the sales and birthday presents, etc. So I don't think we need to worry too much.
Let's move on to our final topic, the cricket yesterday. I mean, it's a brand new era for Australian cricket, isn't it? We'll get to that Virat Kohli smash in a second, but first let's talk about debutant Sam Constas, because it was quite incredible. Sussan, I know many of your constituents would have been watching the cricket out of regional Australia. Were you watching? Did you enjoy it? And what a debut!
Everyone stopped in the middle of Boxing Day lunch at my place and just stared at the screen, and I don't think they even came back to the table, Eddie. But we've got a new hero, Constas the King, but we've also got Virat the villain. I don't think he really did cover himself in glory, and I think it was pretty disappointing. But what struck me, I have to say, was that Sam Constas is 19. That means he was born in 2005. Makes some of us feel pretty old. But yes, what an extraordinary Boxing Day of cricket, and I know that we've crowned a new king.
Yeah, I think it makes all of us feel old. There's something about being a 19-year-old and kind of having nothing to lose, or it seemed like you went into it with that attitude, Alison.
Look, good on him. And, you know, they didn't know him, so he came out fresh, and so he could do what he wanted. They didn't know his style, but I'd beware now, because they would be analysing him and watching him. So, you know, just take stock next time. But I think he's a star. I hope he keeps going on to great things.
Yeah, I think we all do. Hey, Sussan, we lost your audio at the beginning, so we didn't get a chance to talk to you about these changes to migration laws or immigration laws. Can I just get you to touch on that? This was a deal with the coalition to monitor free detainees, deport foreigners with no right to remain, a deal done between both the opposition and the government in the final sitting week. Tell us more about that and how you think it's going to change the system for the better.
Immigration policy has just been a train wreck under this government, and playing with more regulations, adding bits here and there, I don't think it's going to fill Australians with confidence. We saw the government overshoot its migration target by 80,000 in the last year. We heard that last week. And we know that by releasing hardened criminals onto the streets and bringing migrants in with nowhere to house them, I mean, it just all adds up to a complete disaster of an immigration policy. And Eddie, if I may add, because I know you lost my audio, I just want to say that what we're seeing in the Sydney-Hobart yacht race is a national tragedy today. My heart goes out to every single person in the sailing community worldwide, and we really are thinking of them today.
Yeah, we certainly are. And if you're just waking up to that news, 2 people have died in the Sydney-Hobart, a horrific toll in what is an iconic Australian event. Thank you so much, Alison, and thank you, Sussan. I know we went round and about there, but we've got everything covered. We really appreciate your time on this Friday.